from the Workplace Ninja Summit in Baden. From sponsor breakthroughs to community-led revolutions, this is the Workplace Ninja Community Stage.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Hi, guys. Enjoy your coffee. Thank you for sponsors making it happen. Workplace Ninja Summit 2022. My name is Ákos. I'm the grounder and the CEO of the company called SmartCon. Where I come from, I can ask here the audience. Do everybody know what the first flag is? Yeah, I'm a double citizen. I was born in Budapest, but living since 20 years here in Zurich. You can find me on X, LinkedIn, or Blue Sky, I think. Yeah, Bakos, yeah, that's my family name for sure. My first name is Ákos. And if I'm not spending time with my family and doing some OSD stuff and automation, maybe you can find me on the slope. Maybe you can catch me, if you can. Today, the agenda, OSD, how can we use actually one script to provision or Windows devices through the autopilot process onto the login screen. How can I use actually the Windows flow, the Windows setup flow? Just some inputs. What are my feedbacks from the customers are? First of all, the most important when I started to use actually OSD. Now it's called OSD Cloud. The main thing was my customers don't want to have any infrastructure, right? So they wanted to migrate, you name it, config manager, NetSim, whatever you name it, on-prem endpoint solution to the cloud. They don't want to use any on-prem infrastructure. I heard from a lot of my customers, hey, we were buying the devices via CSP, but the OS version, even the OS builds, and the drivers, the firmware were not so what we were expecting. You can manage during the process. You will see during the OB phase how can you update these things, or even remove the not necessary bloatwares. What about the OEM activation? For sure. All of my customers are having E3 or even E5 licenses. For sure, nice to have. It's a step-up upgrade if you're logging in with this credential. But if you don't have activated your hardware, your OEM license, then this step-up won't work. So OEM activation was a challenge as well. What about different autopilot profile? For sure, you can manage it with this, within this script. I will show you how you can choose a different autopilot profiles or even device name. You don't have any naming convention, use it. So build your own one. Wipe and load. Even I'm not so old, I think, but still back in 20 years during the OSD journey, I'm just fan of the fresh installation systems, right? So autopilot, fresh start, wipe, which data is staying on the device, what about shared devices? I'm a fan of using the greenfield approach. So wipe and load the device, build up newly. I would say I know what I'm doing, which application I'm installing, and then the rest are handed over to Intune. But if you want to read more details, for sure, level 500 blog from Rudy, you can find more details. What about the differences between fresh start and wipe and retire the devices? For sure, we are here for kind of post-deployment action, what you can kick off mostly in the UB phase, I think in the pre-UB phase, I would say. That even before the autopilot process is getting started and getting kicked off, that your device is kind of ready for the use, and the end user can just log in and can have the required applications. So actually, that's the big picture. About this picture, we should already talk the whole time, but that's the main thing. We are starting in the VMPE phase. For sure, we are using the most powerful ISO image from David, from OSD Cloud, where we are using for booting, but even some of my customers are using through Windows Deployment Service, F12, and just go ahead for a Pixie boot. And then, yesterday, hopefully some of you guys were participating at David's session, at the first session, where we were learning about the new OSD Cloud module. I'm saying here, start OSD Cloud. Actually, this is a flow based on the OSD version, so it's a V2 version, I would say. But the new thing, it's the deploy. How can you start the OSD Cloud session is the deploy OSD. And then, in the second column, you can say which options, custom scripts you can use to create the automation, and you can see, hopefully, you're not getting crazy with these moving lines. But the PPKG, the provisioning packages, hopefully you know what unattended XML is, and the setup complete are go to the specialized phase. They will be executed automatically. And the last part, two phases, ubi.cmd and autopilot configuration go to ubi phase. Why I was using here the red line as well? Autopilot part, if you're using certificate-based connection to the MG graph, you're not able to use in the UBA phase. You have to go one step further and then connect to MG graph via specialized phase. But if you're using manually, upload the hash load, or even using secret, hopefully you don't. But for this purpose, you can use the UB phase. Let's move forward. Hopefully, you know, guys, it's for me still a task sequence how Windows is booting up from a VMPE phase. In the VMPE phase, we are applying the operating system, which we're choosing, injecting the driver packs, and then preparing our custom scripts like provisioning packages and so on. And then, after the first boot, we are injecting the unattended file. I come back which part, for which reason do I use unattended XML still. After the second boot comes to the specialized phase, where we are expanding these drivers and then installing the packages. And here you could use the setup complete CMD. I'm not using, to be honest, anymore. I'm more fan of using ubi.cmd. It's like since Windows Vista, we can use the system image manager to create this kind of XML file, and on the right-hand side you can see the answer file, which kind of phases you can define. We are here in Switzerland, and what do you think? Why I'm using unattended XML? Keyboard layout. Because we have 3 different layouts, and it's a much easiest way. Just put in the unattended XML and define the input local DECH. That means I have a Swiss-German keyboard. ubi.cmd. For sure, if you before choosing your country and choosing your language, you're able to press Shift F10. and then you can you're in the UB phase, and then you can use your own script. At the beginning, I was trying to automatize this Shift F10 thing, but it's not so reliable until I found, I would say, a solution. Come on, just create this small thing here, ubi.cmd. I can see my pointer. Yeah. ubi.cmd, and just put your own logic there, and it will be grabbed automatically and it will be executed automatically. Maybe in that direction we can use the OSD cloud in the future as well for kind of post actions. Regarding the time, the provisioning package, I don't want to go on. Maybe most important or interesting thing, how can I automatize the autopilot thing? For sure, autopilot UB PowerShell module comes from David Segura. You can use it still, even it's 1.5 years old, but you can just use based on the JSON file, and then you can do your manual job. But more important, more interesting, just create a self-signed certificate. One part goes to for the app registration. The second part, the private key, go to the VMP, and then you can use the autopilot registration automatically. And again, here in the specialized phase, you have to execute the autopilot PS1 file because of the certification. The higher level, for sure, for automation, it could be the nicest way to use Azure Automate with the webhook. Sorry. Just some summary up, which task you can utilize, or what I'm utilizing during OOB phase. Again, Bluetware, language pack, updating Windows and drivers. Even the package from Michael Niehaus, you can put here and execute. Yesterday, I just learned from Panu, you can just download the CM trace and put in OSD as well. Just patchmypc.com/CM trace, and you have your cmtrace.exe. And what I already learned, if you're licensed for Intune, then you can use the CM trace officially as well, because you have license for config manager as well. One audience yesterday was asked, what about language packs? Even it's not a language pack support, it's a on-demand feature, but for sure, with add-Windows capability, you can just install your German language on top. One guy just asking me, how can I install my application during OOB phase? Like Google Chrome, not an issue. 7-zip, Adobe, Mozilla, VLC Video LAN, you can just grab the source from the CDN and you can just execute before the autopilot phase getting started. Microsoft 365 as well, you can use a PowerShell module for install-Microsoft 365, and then you're ready to go. You don't have to put into the ESP phase. Again, that's your recap about the flow. The bonus, for sure, I think the slides we will share on the SCAD, and then the whole script is already on my GitHub repo, and then you can use it, try it, and then if you have any questions, let's reach me out. Today in the afternoon, we will have, David will have a second session about OSD workspace. How can you build these boot images? Please come and join us. I'm doing some blog posts, and if you're checking my QR code, my funny one, but it's still valid, you can check the articles on my blog post. Sorry about this rush session, but for Q&A, let's have a private talk afterwards. For feedback, please. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for joining the Workplace Ninja Community Stage. Stay curious, stay connected, and keep on sharing. Until next time.